everybody, back again. This is the last video I'm going to record for Emily Sparks and the Friendship Fiasco, and I'm still at home and we're still on lockdown, and you might be able to hear some noises outside because my daughters are currently doing their Joe Wicks workout, which is very nice, very healthy. Hope you've done yours. I'm going to read today from my favourite chapter, I think, from Emily Sparks and the Friendship Fiasco. And if you remember the last time, Chloe and Emily had just done some homework where they were supposed to find a Tudor building in the town and find out some history about it. So Emily is still at home trying to sort that out because although we didn't get to that bit in the chapter at the end, they did actually find a building, and it turned out to be the library where they'd been dropped off in the first place. Chloe decided to do the artwork and said she'd rather than draw a picture, she'd rather take a photo. So she took a quick picture on her phone, and that was it. And now poor Emily's got to write the whole article. But as well as that homework, they now have another homework, which is to make a cake. And Mrs. Lovetofts, their teacher, has put Emily, Susanna and Chloe in the same group to make a cake. So this is the chapter where they make a cake together. Now, if you can imagine, both Susanna and Emily want Chloe to be their best friend. So there's a little bit of tension in the cake making. We just start off with Emily finishing the Tudor building homework. I am very tired, having stayed up late trying to think up another 242 words to go with. The library was built in 1547. Mostly I have made a list of books that might be on the library shelves. It's not very interesting, and I don't think my merit mark total will be rising, especially as Chloe emailed me her photo to stick on, which turned out a bit blurry and with half a wedge sandal in it. I decide to get the ingredients ready for the Victoria sponge cake we are making today. We have divided things up. I am supposed to bring the eggs and sugar, Chloe is bringing the flour and butter, and Susanna is providing the house, which is the biggest thing, so she doesn't have to bring anything else. The recipe says only 2 eggs, but I think I will take the whole box in case of disaster. I also have got a full bag of sugar, as Chloe says we're not allowed to do any weighing before we get there or it won't be fair. Just as I am putting everything in a bag, Mum comes in. Luckily, she doesn't look in the bag, as I know she'd make me take just a couple of eggs and a little bit of sugar in a plastic pot. She is mad about not wasting food. It's part of her eco thing. She gets really stressy if I leave any of my dinner, but I told her everyone wants to save the planet, but that doesn't suddenly make you like spinach. At 11:20, I set off for the journey to Susanna's house. Mum does not offer to walk with me or anything caring like that, but as usual she says, "Don't talk to any strangers." As if I'm the sort of person who wanders around saying, "Oh, hello, you're someone I've never met before. Shall we have a chat?" She makes me feel like Red Riding Hood setting off for the forest. I'm just wondering if anyone has ever seen a wolf in Astor Street when I am suddenly at Susanna's house, which is a bit of a surprise as it's only 11:15. Susanna's house is just like ours, only tidy. She doesn't have a little weedy bit of grass at the front of her house. She has a driveway with bricks in swirly patterns, and she has little trees in pots by the front door instead of a dead hanging basket. Her house also has a name, Philippanna. It is made up of her dad's and Mum's names squashed together. This makes me think her parents must be very well organised and imaginative. Just think how long it would take my mum and dad to come up with a name for our house. They can't even sort out a name for their child. Although, to be fair, if they squashed their names together, it would be Keith Amanda, which is not a very good name for a house or a baby. I'm a bit worried about being early, but I don't want to run the risk of running into any wolves by hanging about on the street. So I ring the bell and wait. Susanna comes to the door and says, "Oh, Emily, you're early." I say, "I know, your house was a bit closer than I thought." For a moment, I think she might make me wait on the doorstep, but she says, "Come in a way which sounds more like go away. We go into her kitchen and her mum is there making tea. "Oh, it's just Emily," she says. "You're early." She is wearing her glasses, which are quite big and round, and I don't know why, but all the Red Riding Hood stuff is still in my head, and before I can stop myself, I say, "What big eyes you've got!" Susanna gives me a very funny look, but luckily her mum never listens to anyone else because she's too busy talking. "I'm quite looking forward to meeting this new young lady, Chloe," Susanna's mum says, "especially as she's Susanna's best friend and is going to be her Tudor day partner." Susanna doesn't look at me as she is pretending to find the weighing scales, but I give her the super evils behind her back, and she can probably feel it. Her mum is still going on about how she's going to be a helper on the school trip and dress as a Tudor maiden when we see Chloe's great big white car pull up outside. Susanna and her mum go rushing to the door, and there's a lot of fussing and helloing, not like when I arrived at all. "Oh, fancy your mum driving off so quickly, Chloe," Susanna's mum says as they all come back in. "I wanted the chance to say hello. She's the only parent in school I haven't met yet." "Wasn't that your servant, anyway?" Susanna says. "Servant?" Susanna's mum repeats, looking a bit surprised. "Your house is smaller than I thought it would be," says Chloe, and I see Susanna shoot a nervous look in her mum's direction. "Well, it's big enough for us," Susanna's mum says, going a bit pink. "Now then, you girls have fun, but don't make a mess." She goes off, leaving the three of us in the kitchen. "Right," Chloe said. "We need one person to be in charge and read the recipe and 2 people to do the mixing and stuff, so I'll be in charge." Chloe sits up on the worktop so she can have a good view of what we're doing. "Now then," she says, "Emily, have you got the butter?" "You're supposed to bring the butter," I say. "Oh, was I?" Chloe smiles. "The trouble is we're having a new kitchen fitted this weekend and I just couldn't get to the fridge." "I thought you were having a swimming pool," Susanna says. "That too," Chloe says. "Busy, busy, busy. Now, Emily, as you haven't brought any butter, we'll have to hope Susanna can find some." Susanna finds some butter and Chloe says, "Well done, Susanna," like she's done something clever, not just opened the fridge. Then we have to weigh my sugar. I am trying to pour very carefully, but it keeps spilling on the floor. I am so glad Mum is not here, as she would already be working out how many poor people it would fed for a week. When we have got 250 grams, like the recipe says, Susanna pours it into a big bowl. "That's not enough," Chloe says, peering into the bowl. "Yes, it is," Susanna said. 250 grams. That's what you just said off the recipe. "Oh, Mrs. Lovetops is probably just trying to be healthy," Chloe says, and she grabs the bag and pours more sugar in. Susanna tries to grab it back, but Chloe snatches the bag out of the way and the rest of the sugar gets flung all over the floor. Susanna tries to look at the recipe card, but Chloe snatches it away. "Susanna, we have actually decided I am in charge," she says. "But Chloe," I start to say, and then I think, "That's a really good idea, Chloe. I like sugar." Susanna gives me the super evils for definite this time, so I give her a nice smile back. "Eggs next," Chloe says. "I've got them," I say, getting a box out of the bag. "Ugh, yuck," says Chloe. "I hate eggs." "Really?" I say. "I like eggs." Then I clamp my mouth shut quickly, but it's too late because Susanna has already seen her opportunity. "Oh, I'm totally with you there, Chloe. Eggs are yuck," she says, giving me a sideways grin. "But I suppose we have to have them." She picks up the egg box and then stops and stares at it. "Oh, these eggs are out of date." I can feel my face getting hot. "What do you mean?" I say, suddenly realising exactly what she means. "They're out of date," Susanna says. 2 whole days. That's so disgusting. You brought mouldy ingredients. Oh, my mum and her not wasting food obsession again. I can just imagine what she'd say. "Oh, it's only a best before date, Emily. Eggs last for ages." "You could have killed us," Chloe says, and she and Susanna cling to each other, making choking noises, and Chloe looking at me as if I'm dangerous to know. "Well, it's just my mum doesn't believe in wasting food," I say. But it doesn't matter because they are not listening anyway. They're just hanging on to each other and saying things like, "Ugh, yuck, we could have died," and stuff like that. Chloe's being so dramatic about pretending to be sick that she accidentally knocks the eggs off the worktop and they land on the floor in a total scrambled egg mess. Susanna wipes some of it up kitchen roll, but it seems to mostly spread around and mix in with the sugar from the last disaster. When they have calmed down a bit, I said, "But we still need eggs." "No," Chloe said, "I couldn't now. We'll have to make it without eggs. We'll have to use a bit of milk instead." "Milk?" I say. "You can't make a cake without eggs," Susanna says. Then we look at each other, and I think we are right, but a cake is not as important as avoiding a serious gross-tastic incident. Susanna must think the same thing as well, because at the same time we both say, "Okay, Chloe." The cake is a total disaster. It comes out like 2 great big crispy biscuits, which I don't think anyone would try to eat. "It's because there were no eggs in it," I say. "And whose fault is that?" Susanna says, glaring at me. I'm just wondering if I'm brave enough to point out that it might be a tiny bit Chloe's fault when a car horn blasts outside. "Sorry, girls, gotta go," Chloe says. She runs off, pushes past Susanna's mum, who is standing in the hall, and races out, slamming the door behind her. "Well," Susanna's mum says, staring after her. She walks into the kitchen and looks around. "What on earth?" The floor is covered in sugar, eggs and flour. It has all sort of mixed together to make a slimy gloop, and there are sticky footprints all through the kitchen and down the hall. Susanna's mum does an excellent impression of an erupting volcano, and Susanna and I have to spend the next half an hour clearing up. It's not easy clearing up someone else's kitchen without speaking, as you can't find out where anything goes, but I think it's probably not the best time to try and start a conversation. Eventually we are finished, and I put on my fleece for the walk home. "Goodbye, Mrs. Kowalski," I say. "Bye, Susanna." But no one replies. We'll just have to tell Mrs. Lovetofts we had a disaster. So, that's quite fun. I like cooking, but I always make a mess when I cook, and I'm not very good at clearing up either, but I suppose I have to do it. We do have to do it, don't we? But if you'd like to do an activity related to that chapter, well, I think there's only one to do, isn't there? And that is make a cake. You could make a little cake, or do some bigger cakes, or a bit of other sorts of baking. You could bake bread. And there are loads of things you can do, and I'm sure you've got lots of recipes. So why not get together with a friend or a couple of friends and do some baking, or maybe just do it at home with your brothers and sisters, or mum, dad. And don't forget to clear the kitchen up after you. So I hope you've enjoyed these chapters from my book, and if you want to carry on reading it, well, it may well be in your library, or you could get a copy from somewhere else. So and it's been lovely doing these videos, and I'm going to say goodbye now. So goodbye.